Monica, welcome to today's episode of Mill to Vet. Can you please share with our audience who are you?
All right. Obviously, my name is Monica McNeal, and we'll just put me down as a mom because that's really my number one job. And I've had, career, and I'm currently a veteran advocate. And I've been in this space for about the last 14 years. And tragedy brought me here, but you can turn things around and you can end up with PTSD, or it's also called PTSG, PTS, which stands in for growth. So I took a tragedy and decided to do my very best and give back to the military community.
So thank you for kind of breaking the ice on that, Monica. Before we go too far into this, how can everybody get a hold of you? What is the best way to do that?
You can shoot me an email, just monica.mcneal@outlook.com. And hey, I take all phone calls, texts, 206-852-4559. And of course, LinkedIn.
And so you have done a lot of work with the veteran for the veteran community. You mentioned a little bit about your how you got started, right? And then what are you doing now? So I know you're part of the Gold Stars. Is that your biggest contribution right now? Is that where your biggest focus is at?
I am always busy, but yes, we went from American Gold Star moms to Gold Star families, so we could be very inclusive. We wanted to make sure that we were covering all families, and it has just been an unbelievable, rewarding process. We've got dads, we've got siblings, we've got grandparents, we got step parents. No membership dues. You know what? We're here to support each other. So that takes a lot of my time. I do have a day job. I'm actually a TAP facilitator with the Department of Labor under CIRCO. So I do teach, facilitate TAP 3 days a week about. So that gets me with a bunch of great veterans who are just raw at transitioning. I do everything from the regional correctional facility down at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I also do the SFAC for the Wounded Warriors. And then I teach retire classes, and then I have typical separation. And then there's also a separation class for those who are not leaving active duty on their choice. So I kind of get the full bell curve of veterans, which has just been a fascinating learning experience. And then, for a lot more fun, because I don't have enough to do, I also am back helping 4Block, which is a veteran transition program. And we're back full time here in Seattle in person. So I came back to help them. And I don't know how long I'll stay, but for right now, I'm looking forward to the fall cohort. So staying busy.
As a TAPS facilitator, uh, what is the top things like? Let's do top three things that you recommend transitioning service members to really dive into through the transition as your experience as a facilitator that you've seen in your time.
Have a plan, and that includes A, B, and C. Things don't always work out. I like to tell everyone, just because you want a job at a certain company on a certain date, that opening might not be there. I also highly recommend they all get a mentor, because there's so many highs and lows during the process of transitioning and job seeking, that a mentor, someone who's going to be very honest with them. And then last but not least, not that this isn't the curriculum, but I challenge them to figure out their what and their why, because they've all come from a company, we'll just call it the military, who they all have mission and purpose. And if that's something they want in their civilian job, they have to seek out what is mission and purpose. So knowing their values, knowing what's important to them, I think they got to spend a little bit of soul searching, and I think it'd be a much easier transition. I'm going to mention a couple other nonprofits. One is Veterati. They do a phenomenal job, and it's a one and done if you want it to be. I also recommend it American Corporate Partners, and that's what often referred to as ACP, and that is a 1-year commitment. And I'll start year 7 with that
Oh, wow.
program. So I love that program. And then word of mouth. I mean, hello, as you guys say, get back to your tribe, someone in your tribe who's been there, done that. And on average, about 200,000 veterans transition every year. You got to know somebody. So, if they can't figure out somebody, I use LinkedIn, I use my community and say, okay, just go talk to this guy. He'll have you some great information or whatever. But there are more than enough people. I've never met a veteran who's not willing to help. So I know they're out there. They just got to ask.
Thank you for talking about the build the tribe part because that's why it's our slogan. We could have said, veteran podcast or veteran YouTube channel. No, that's not what we're doing here. We're doing building your tribe, and mentorship is so important. And Veterati and ACP are solid organizations. I've investigated them myself. I've actually utilized them. Veterati, in my opinion, is a little bit easier to navigate through different mentors. ACP, they do a phenomenal job checking up on you, following up. Veterati does the same. I wish Veterati and ACP would join forces because then it would be like seriously like it'd be it'd be amazing because ACP's follow up is phenomenal. They do a really good job following up. Veterati is more of text messages, but their ability for you to choose your mentor because you could log in to Veterati and then you get all these different mentors. And you can see who you're going for, and you could change mentors and swap them out. It's a really cool program. So yeah, definitely awesome.
I'm glad you used it.
Awesome advice. Yes, yes. I used it not only to find myself a mentor, but also so that way when it comes time to giving guidance, I can actually give firsthand guidance. Um, wow. What books or content or media would you suggest one of those transitioning service members to start digesting?
I'm an avid reader, so occasionally I'll put my own book reviews up on LinkedIn. But there is a book, I think it's been around since 1977, before probably most of you were born. It is called What Color is Your Parachute? And they republish it every year. So every year they republish this. It is a great book to go through, do a little soul searching. They also have a workbook. I always tell everyone, you can just go to the library. They'll order the book for you if they don't have it at their location. But it's really a good book. Like I said, I think it's been around since 1977. And I actually redid the entire workbook maybe 2 summers ago. I thought, let me just see how good it is. And it's always been great, but it still is great. So that's a big one. Another book I like is called Operation Lily Pad. And the author actually lives here on Bainbridge Island, right here in the Washington area. And I believe I should know this, but I think he's an academy grad and he's been in the tech space and just has great advice and he'd probably be a great guest on your show. I'll connect you if you'd like.
Yes, please. That'd be amazing.
Well, we
Okay.
like
Okay.
connect us.
All right.
And so you mentioned about the books. You mentioned about how to get a hold of you. What, from your experience in being in this big space of the veteran community, is the biggest hurdle to getting the right mindset to be able to create and go through this transition process, right? Because you have the veterans that are, um, and part of it, and I'm gonna kind of sidetrack a little bit, right? You also mentioned earlier about reaching out and talking to the people that we know, right? A lot of the times, the people that we know are the people that we're currently serving in with, right? We haven't met anyone that transitioned out. So we're getting advice from someone that doesn't really know the information. Um, and that's a dangerous slope, right? Because they're just adding things that they think that they know, but they have no idea. They haven't gone through it. I also love the fact that you talked about ACP and Veterati, and as Chris mentioned, it'd be great if they were joined. However, I do see the value of them being completely separate because they serve to the completely different purposes. Um, So with that, what do you think is the biggest struggle that we as service members have while this transition is going on?
I'm going to first start with everyone else. They all think someone else deserves the free service. So, oh no, I don't need that. Oh, I don't need that. My buddy Joe needs that. None. All right, you guys have earned all of these great services, and the number used to be about 30,000 veteran trans services are out there. There are foundations. There's people who are going to help you write your resume. I could rattle off four of those. You don't have to sit and be stuck and know how to write a resume. And also, don't forget, ChatGTP is out there, and AI writes
Yes.
beautiful resumes. And there's so many services. I know that VFW has a knowledge bank there. The American Legion has a knowledge bank. Minority Veterans of America has a knowledge bank. And all the civilians. I mean, there's a whole bunch of us willing to help because we're part of that military family. So, like I said, there are so many, but the first thing they have to do is decide they want the help, because many of them, you're all self-sufficient, you're problem solvers, everyone else's problem is never your problem. So I just touch base, and I meant to write about 300 people a year myself in my free time.
Wow.
And I always say it might start with one question, but there's usually three. So maybe they want me just review their resume, and then all of a sudden they tell me they're losing their apartment, or they don't know how to get a master's degree or whatever. So there's always other resources, and it's just connecting people to the right resource. And there are so many of them. The good news is there's so many. The difficult part is there are so many. And I think that is also sometimes paralyzing because you just don't know what to do. And, here in the state of Washington, we've done a phenomenal job of lots of different groups, community, and lots of nonprofits to help, and across the country, the same thing. So it's just kind of saying, raise your hand and say, I could use some help. And no one should be stuck. There are so many great places out there to help you.
Okay. One follow-up question to that. What have you found the best way to navigate and to really know? Um, if you're just listening to this, right? And but you don't really know where to go to ACP or Veterati, or you just like you said, you don't want to use those services, but you still want to get a different services. What have you found the best way to understand what are those organizations that are out there? I mean, you mentioned 33,000.
Mm-hmm.
Some say it's more than that. What would you? How would you do if you were if I was in your shoes or vice versa? What would you say?
Well, I think the first you have to think is America's Job Center. Here in Washington, they're called WorkSource. There is a veteran liaison at every work source, in this case, America's Job Center, across the country. So start there, start in your local community. I mean, it's not that hard. And once again, a mentor can probably give you three resources without even trying hard. And I think you just got to ask the question. I'm going to obviously refer to the Northwest. I mean, we've got PNW Vets as a Facebook page. I mean, I think there's 6 or 7 thousand people on that page today. And, if someone has a question, there's usually 9 or 10 responses. So that's a great resource. And it's just going back, and TAP, just so you know, is still available. Even after you leave active duty, it is still online. You can brush up on TAP. But I'd say if you want to text me, I guarantee I'll send you 3 resources. Just go ahead, blow up my text line. That is just fine. Don't call me 'cause I don't answer my phone very often. But yes, there's definitely great places.
It's funny that you mentioned Pacific Northwest vets, and I just text messaged Josh Weldon saying that he just got mentioned again in my podcast, and he still hasn't come on my podcast yet. So
I'll be
tisk
texting
tisk
him
Josh.
after this. Yes, I will be texting Josh and anybody else you want me to text.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been so the Pacific Northwest vet is a great organization up here. Another really good organization down there in San Diego is the VBC, the Veteran Beer Club, which is it's not just about beer, but They do a really good job. Did you ever get to attend one of those down there?
No, but we have the Seattle Beer Club already started here. So
Yeah.
So we got the Seattle Beer Club here. And, like San Antonio has Mill City Vets. I mean, you go across, Vet Atlanta is the one in Atlanta. I mean, pretty much every large will go with, at least where there's maybe an installation or nearby big city. I mean, there is a place for people to get together, and it's just asking one question, and I guarantee you'll be able to get an answer. And that's across the country.
I like that. What so with us transitioning out of the military, we kind of really have our identity. We wear it every single day wearing that uniform, right? You can see some of my awards and stuff like that up there. We kind of use that as like our identity. It shows that we've been there, we've done that. I was senior chief and all that. The day you get out, you kind of lose all that. And it takes a while to figure out that purpose that you have. What is your best recommendation for veterans?
I love this. I love this topic because one, I'm a civilian. So if you had Master Chief written on your arm, would probably be the only way I'd know you have a Master Chief. I don't know any of those medals and awards. I know what none of that means, and I don't want to know because at the end of the day, it's a chapter in your life, and it is something you should hold in regard. It is part of your life, but it's not your life. And people on the outside, once you take your uniform off, you're just Joe Schmo. We don't know. And you have to really get in touch with who you are in your own brand. And I compare it to professional athletes because once they take off their uniform, does anyone remember who number 17 is for the Seahawks? Right? So we only know this person in their jersey. And professional athletes, in my opinion, and veterans go through a lot of the same identity. They had a place to go. They could go to the VMAC. They, have their tribe. They, work out at the same gym. They know their schedule. They know what to eat. Well, the same thing with veterans. While you are in, you have a very rigid schedule. You know your people, everything. And all of a sudden you get out and I know I've had generals in my class and, I don't know who they are. They're just, Chris. And you have to kind of get over that. And it's just part of your brand, but you have to develop your new civilian brand. And, what is, once again, goes back to your purpose, your mission, your values, and you start creating your own brand. So that's kind of the pitch I give everyone because once they walk out and they take that uniform off, I don't know who they are. I don't have any idea. And when they sit in class, they don't have a uniform, and I don't even know what the uniform stands for anyway. So, I just know some metal things on the collars or an officer, but besides that, I don't know anything. So, and
So,
I don't want to know.
I'm glad that you mentioned the comparison between the professional athletes and the military. As a matter of fact, here there's an organization called the First and Goal Project that we have been blessed with being able to be with them through their growth. It's here in the LA County area, the Orange County, and what it is one of our friends, he retired or he he left the Seattle Seahawks, and he was lost for a while, right? And then from there, they started creating this organization, and there's another one that is called the MVP, um, and merging vets with players. And then this one in particular, they're trying to find a way, or they're not, they're trying, they are teaching both the service members and the professional athletes to be able to retrain them to have different skills to be able to move forward, right? We've been blessed to be able to be a part of both their inaugural uh, golf event, charity event, and then this year the annual, So, but it is beautiful because until that point of meeting them, you're really the second person that has made that really comparison so passionately about the reality that we do go through something similar because we do have our tribe, we do have all these things that work together, and they're so difficult to transition.
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know until you walk out that gate. And I tell quite a few of my classes that, once you leave, some of you might be going, woohoo, I'm never going to do anything again in the military. I'm out. I'm blah, blah, blah. And then I said, it might be 5 weeks. No, and you're like, whoa, I really miss PT in the morning, or I really miss so and so. And so they'll come back. But once again, we got to make sure they know where those resources are, easy and fast. And like I said, everybody knows somebody who's transitioned. Make a phone call or call me, text me.
Recently you just completed something that is really transformational, a big race in Europe. You want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you just completed?
Well, we'll call it a walk. I completed the Camino Santiago. So it's basically walking from the Pyrenees on the France and Spain border to Santiago, and it's 500 miles, or about 700 kilometers. It took 34 days, and I'm old, so there are days like 2 miles an hour. We're not in a big hurry. My friend and I went, and I don't think it's hit me yet because I've only been home a week and 2 days. But I think what's amazing is the fact that I climbed the Pyrenees. I mean, I've hiked the Pyrenees, and that altitude was very high. And yes, it's a test of physical, mental, and spiritual. And I can tell you all three of those phases happen during a 500-mile walk. The good news is I met a ton of veterans from around the world. I also, yes, and there is a veteran, the Way, and they're a nonprofit. They actually take veterans on this walk, and they don't do the all 500 miles, but it is a phenomenal program. I believe a chaplain started it, and he's taking veterans on different pilgrimages. So it was my
Wow.
opportunity to kind of deal with my life. I mean, when you're walking 8 hours a day, you kind of have some free time to think, or you don't think, and you live in the moment. I mean, I have never lived in the moment like that ever in my life. I mean, sometimes it's because of my safety and I didn't want to fall down on shale and, hurt myself. So, yeah, well, thank you. It was a great experience. I don't think I'm ready to say I'll do another one anytime soon, but it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
Just wait till you get to the amnesia point, like in 2 years, and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, I'll sign up again.
Yeah, we call that when you have a child. You always say you're never having another one, and then somehow you have another child. So you do forget that. Amnesia does set in. So we'll see. We'll see.
Camino de Santiago is being a huge thing going down back centuries. And for you to have experienced that, it's beautiful. And I love the fact that you mention the ability to be there present in the moment and be able to actually enjoy what you're doing and think about your past, thinking about your present, and it does allow you that clear space to whatever problem that you're having or issues or even pain to process it through and clear it out. I had no idea that there was an organization that was taking the veteran community to that.
I think it's called Warriors the Way. If you guys are on Facebook, if you find Monica's Camino page, I did a page every day, but I did post it on there. So yeah, if not, I'll send you guys the notes. But yeah, they
Oh,
have
that'd
it.
be awesome.
And
Yeah.
like I said, I met so many veterans from the UK. I met veterans from New Zealand and all over the world. It was crazy. I had my son Eric Ward's T-shirt on, "Wear Blue, Run to Remember." So, I probably attracted some of those veterans to come over and chat. So it was really a great experience.
And what was the shared experience during this journey that you all had in common on how to get there?
You follow the yellow arrows. I don't know how else to say this. You are walking through woods, you're walking through the villages, you're walking through where Romans once walked.
Right.
And there are rocks with just a yellow painted arrow, or in the middle of a path someone's taken a bunch of rocks and put it in an arrow so you know you're supposed to go right. I mean, it's crazy. Now there is some modern technology which we chose not to do it, and we just followed the arrows, and hey, we have faith that it was going to get us to Santiago. So it did. We showed up in Santiago, so it worked.
Wow, that's amazing. And you being able to recollect all this and share it and live in it. Wow. So 500 miles? And then how was the stopping there and the rest stops and what was the support? Was there any support along the way or how does that work?
You could do an organized group, but there's so many people there. I will say that if you have IBS, I don't recommend this because there are no bathrooms along the way. So that's the mom and me coming out. But the really cool thing is, even like the village might be shut down, but there's one restaurant for pilgrims. So you could go there. The nice thing is wine is about €1 a glass. So hey, it's not bad. And beer, I think, is even less than wine. So you can stop, have a
Yes.
drink, and then keep walking, or have a sandwich or chat with somebody and keep going. So yeah, it's pretty great. Coke, like a soda, is like €3.50. So it's cheaper to drink alcohol than anything else. That's a little bit about Spain. I'm just sharing.
Yeah. What was it like preparing for that?
I'm not a hiker, and I mean, I once was an athlete, but I just walk a lot. So I just walk a lot, and I was walking, 7, 10 miles at the end. And I probably could have done a little bit of elevation training because there was a times where the air is quite thin, but I was fine. You know what? Your body is made to walk, and there's a saying on the Caminos that you will get in shape by the end. I mean, you don't have a choice. I mean, you are walking. We always said it's walking a half marathon at least every day. So you're walking at least 13 miles a day. So just suck it up, start walking. You guys know how to. One of the guys said, Monica, that was one ruck. No, we shipped our bags ahead. A lot of people carry their own stuff. I mean, I'm too old for that stuff. So, but I walked it. I didn't carry my backpack or anything. So I carried a day pack. That was it.
Yeah. So shifting back a little bit, um, you started this process through a very hard experience. Um, and as a mom, what advice could you give to someone who's starting or who's going through the process of the Gold Star program to be able to move forward?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of the background. So my son, my only natural son, Eric, left for Afghanistan and then was killed. He left on October 28th, and then February of 2010, he was actually killed on February 21st, 2010. So we had a very short time in Helmand province. It was an ugly time in the war, Marine. And, he was also a fourth generation Marine. So I didn't think that there was any way I could have stopped him, as he reminded me, because he was going to go no matter what. And, I never tried to think that anything would happen. I put my blue star flag up in my window, and unfortunately he did not come home. And it's it's like everything in life. You can make it, you got to grieve. I mean, there's no question there. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do next. And luckily, my son gave me strict instructions. If something happened, he said, you're going to put on your boots and you're going to be a strong Marine mom and you're going to get out there. And that's really what I've tried to do. I mean, I remember the day he left, and all these young kids were getting on this bus, and some were married with kids and some had pregnant wives. And here I am, I had to suck it up. And that was my job because, they too lost loved ones later in the war. And so the only thing I can say is, like everything, how do you deal with stuff? And you got to learn to deal with good, bad, and ugly. And sometimes you deal with a lot of that younger in age, and sometimes you do it older, but you got to deal with it. And a loss of a loved one is not easy. My father died when I was young, and then Eric, and it's not easy, but I also know that I'm living my life with him on my shoulder. And everything I do, every time I do something for the veterans, I'm thinking, yep, there he is. He's right there. And that's what's really important to me, that he knows I'm giving back. And I'm going to continue his legacy as long as I'm alive.
That's really, really honorable of you, Monica. And thank you so much for being so strong, because I know you have helped a lot of family members. And I've talked to some of those that are in your organization. And some of the stories that I heard was just knowing that there's that group out there that's able to help others go through that. And honestly, it's like there's, unless you've gone through it, it's hard for you to really kind of understand.
And the hard part too, I just want to share with in the beginning of the war, it was a lot of KIA and accidental deaths. And the last 5, 6 years, it has all been death by suicide. And that those families are left just out there. And then during COVID, we had numerous families who, the death by suicide happened in their home. And, it was a really, really rough time. But if you think of the number of tours so many of you had, and now coming back and not dealing with it, I'm just very nervous if we don't get the mental health out there to the veterans, and also Gold Star families. I mean, this triggers a lot of ugliness within a family. So there's a lot of great help out there. Once again, it's free. There's so many great things, but you can't say it's for somebody else. You got to say, you know what, it's my time to check in. And I know you guys all have a great buddy system, but you all need to check in and make sure you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, if we do not check in with each other, if we don't, see how others are doing, then we're not gonna like we're not going to take our stuff serious. So it's so important for us to talk with each other. And a lot of us will get out and will pretty much just kind of pack everything up and forget all about it. But if you do that and you don't empty out all the compartments of your service, it's going to come back and bite you. You're going to be, I always compare it to like a boat. Everything that you have, you pack away in a compartment and you put it down below the water line. You keep doing that, your water line keeps rising and your boat keeps sinking down. And if you don't unload it, you're going to end up sinking. So super important to check on each other. It's kind of like decompartmentalizing some of the stuff that you packed away.
And going back to you guys, using your tagline, finding your tribe and, seeking them out. I mean, you probably know about the guys up in Everett, Salmon for Soldiers. I mean, they'll be taking out 400 veterans, fishing, and everyone gets to go salmon fishing. I mean, it is such a great event watching all these veterans come back and they all caught fish. And you know what? What a great time to connect. And so there's a lot of those outdoor type events too, if that floats your boat or whatever, of interest. Veterans are a wide variety of interests. So there's always something to be done. You just gotta, like I said, you gotta ask, or I also like to say you can GTS, Google it. I guarantee it's out there. It's Google that
Yes.
something. So
I
Right.
like to call it Mass Chief Google,
there you go.
So, hey, Monica, it's been such a great time. Do you have any last words before we end this conversation?
Yeah, I'll circle back to just career readiness. Be curious, and be curious your entire life. You don't know everything, and you only know what you know. So be curious. So when someone talks about a job, take 10 minutes, figure it out, talk to them. But life is going to have lots of different careers for all of you. So be curious, don't get stuck in the mud. But I think if we could remain curious, it'd be very helpful.
Thank you so much, Monica. We would love to bring you back. This episode was absolutely packed with thousands of great things. Uh, but I know that that's a drop in the bucket of your knowledge and what you can share with us to be able to help the veteran community. Would love to have you back.
Okay, I do whatever you want, and I'm going to connect you with a few other people. Just let me know who, besides Josh. There you go.
Besides Josh.
Third time you've
Yeah,
heard Josh. I'm texting him now.
yeah. I I already texted him. He's gonna get another honorable mention on my podcast. And Monica, I really do appreciate you coming on here. Hey, tribe, you guys need to check out Monica. Go to LinkedIn, look her up on there. She's not only um, a phenomenal um, tap instructor, but she also helps out Gold Star families with her organization. Thank you so much for coming on here, Monica. And to everybody that's listening right now, I want you guys to really think about this. It's your transition. It's not all rainbows and unicorns out there. Okay? It's your transition. Take charge of it. Middle of the vet. Out.
Yes.
Thank you.